One of the most frequently asked questions I get from all of you is what gems are the best gems that I should use in Diablo Immortal? Which are the ones that I should invest my time into upgrading, especially if you're a free-to-play player or a low spender and you really can't invest a ton into 5-star gems. So today I want to take a look at every single one of the 5-star gems that are available right now inside of the game and throw them on a tier list for you so you guys can see where you should prioritize them, and if you happen to have one drop in an Elder Rift, if it's one that you should save or sell to get a bunch of platinum from. We're going to start with the oldest and move all the way to the newest, and keep in mind some of these gems do have power creep. Now before I go any further, I want to remind you guys that I'm going live every single day on the channel. I'll be live today around 11 or 12 Eastern time, so 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. Eastern time. Hopefully you guys can come on through and hang out with me on the stream. Let's start out with the Phoenix Ashes. The Phoenix Ashes was the unkillable gem in the beginning of the game. It's the one that saves your life when you're doing any type of combat. As you can see, prevents fatal damage and then grants a shield for 6 seconds that absorbs damage equal to 450% of your base damage. Cannot occur more often than once every 180 seconds. Now, also, please keep in mind, these are the stats at rank 1. These rank all the way up to rank 10, but also keep in mind that if you are a free-to-play player or even a low spender, you will never get these gems to rank 10. It's nearly impossible to do that. So just keep that in mind. This gem though, and I'm going to kind of look at it as I could, all of them in general, I'm going to say, okay, you can probably get them up to rank 4 or rank 5, even as a low spender. And that's kind of where I'll judge them, right? Because honestly, no gems are really great at rank 1. You're going to want to throw a few ranks into them. So the Phoenix Ashes, which is one that I loved when the game had begun, really doesn't, it had some major power creep and it really doesn't do great specifically in Battlegrounds anymore. I'm going to drop that one into the C tier. Let's move on next to the Chip of Stoned Flesh. There are some builds that do utilize this. I've seen it used in the Crusader sometimes, but it's definitely a bit of a niche gem. When you cause an enemy your total loss of control, you inflict an explosive curse upon them. When the curse expires, the enemy will explode for 45% of all damage taken during its duration, up to a maximum of 150% of your base damage. Can't happen more often than every 20 seconds. This is something that's used in some really big damage builds, and is one that you may want to use for niche moments. Not a bad gem, not the best. The Chip, I'm going to go and give a B tier. Let's move on to Howler's Call. This is the one that has wolves shoot out from you and they go damage enemies in front of you. Your primary attack has a 10% chance to conjure a charging spirit wolf that inflicts 150% base damage and 1,458 damage to all enemies in its path. I used to like this one because it would throw some wolves out. It was kind of cool. It was a cool visual that you would get from it. But at the end of the day, Howler's Call is not one of the best gems. I am going to, wait a second, where is this thing on my list right here? All right, that's what it looks like. Yeah, where is it? Oh, here it is. I'm going to go ahead and give this one, I mean, it's probably one of the worst gems. It can go C or D. It's not one that you should focus on. Now, some players will say they're so cheap because no one really wants them, right? Like, they're not expensive to, actually, they are expensive to pick up right here. Wow, that's actually surprising. But when you have a gem that's inexpensive, is it worth upgrading one that's easier to attain because it costs less platinum, but it doesn't do as much, just so you can gain resonance? The answer there is probably not. You're going to want to go with the gems that are going to give you the benefits that you want. Let's talk about Seeping Bile. This is one that I still actually currently use, although it has had massive power creep. Your attacks have a 4% chance to poison enemies, inflicting 25% base damage, plus 263 every second for 6 seconds. The poison then spreads to nearby enemies if the victim dies. So, I like the effect of it, but the problem is it only happens 4% chance. Your attacks only have a 4% chance to poison those enemies. This is probably one of the most power crept gems inside of the game. With that being said, it's still one that I use. I'm going to go ahead and give the Seeping Bile, we are going to go and give it a B tier. It's not completely dead as of yet. Blessing of the Worthy. This was one of the first gems that you could have purchased from the shop when the game dropped. I still remember the purchasable deals that were in the game when the game launched. When you take damage, you have a 20% chance to unleash Retribution on all nearby enemies, dealing damage equal to 12% of your current life. Alright, so you basically do damage when you take damage. I don't particularly love Blessing of the Worthy. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a D tier. Definitely one that we used to see being used a lot, but really isn't being used much anymore. Blood-Soaked Jade increases all damage you deal up to 8%. All damage, that's primary attack and skill damage, while at full life, with a minimum bonus of 4% while at low life. It also increases your movement speed by 10%. Again, this is at rank 1. Also, Blood-Soaked Jade is one of the best gems in the game, easily my favorite, and easily an S tier gem. If you ever unlock this, it's one that you should prioritize, it's one that you should use, and it's one that you should try to upgrade. It is good with all builds everywhere. Echoing Shade, although I should love this one because of its name, it is okay. Kind of like the Howler's Call. Your attacks have a 15% chance to summon a shadow clone for 8 seconds that attacks nearby enemies with one of your primary attacks. Now, we know that the Barbarian has a skill that can have a shadow clone come. Echoing Shade, that could allow another one that can come. I guess it could allow you to drop more damage if you're looking for some big damage builds. I do see this gem being utilized sometimes in builds where they're trying to drop tons of damage on, say, a Reliquary boss or a dungeon boss. That being said, it's also not the best gem in the game. I'm going to give the Echoing Shade a C tier along with our Phoenix Ashes. If you're noticing when you look at the list, a lot of the older gems are in the lower tiers, and that just tells you how good some of the newer ones are that we're going to be getting to. Bottled Hope, another OG gem. When you use a skill to grant a buff, it increases damage and movement speeds of a target by yourself by 8% for 6 seconds. Can occur more often. It also decreases cooldown of skills. Bottled Hope, although it does not sound like anything super crazy, it is an amazing gem. It's one that I use in all of my builds. This one could go between an S and an A tier. Because of me and how I like to use it, I want to drop it in S. I know that some others would argue that it's really not an S tier gem, that it's more of an A tier gem compared to some of the others that we have. I would probably agree with that. So I'm going to go ahead and give it an A tier, although I think it really should be like right in between. It could be an S or an A tier gem. I really do like the Bottled Hope. All right, we're going to talk about some Zwenson's Haunting, the gem I want to love. When you defeat an enemy, a dark beast attacks nearby enemies, dealing 50% of the base damage plus 486. Basically, you kill things and then you summon this thing, this shadow beast that attacks and does more damage. It's really not the best gem, unfortunately. It's gotta go sit in the D tier. Although I wish it could be better. I think it's cool. It's just not the best. Frozen Heart, we see this one used quite a bit in PvP. When you take damage, activate a Frigid Shield for 6 seconds that chills enemy attackers and absorbs damage equal to 150% of your base damage, plus 1,458. So this is really nice for PvP. It's a great shielding gem. I actually quite like it, although it's not one that I use. I'll go ahead and give this one, for someone that's a PvP player, this is going to be an A tier gem. If you do not do PvP, if you only do open world stuff, this should be somewhere more around a C tier. All right. So keeping in mind that maybe you play all areas of the game, we'll give that one an A tier. Back to the game, we're going to take a look at Concentrated Will. Using a dash skill calls a guardian angel to your aid, unleashing a blast of holy light in your direction, dealing 55% damage and 547 to all enemies. This can happen every 6 seconds. Now, this one is very reliant on the build that you're using and the class that you're playing. If you're utilizing a monk, a tempest, something that dashes a lot, this could be a very valuable gem. But if you're not utilizing dash skills, it's one that you're probably not going to be using at all, and it wouldn't be valuable to you. Either way, I'm going to drop this one into the C tier category. You can bump it up if you are playing as something that has a dash skill that is very heavy in the way that you play. But I also like to use gems that are versatile. I like to use gems that if I change classes to something different, it still is going to have its value. So keep that in mind. Next up, we're going to go with the Hellfire fragment. Using a skill conjures 3 Hellfire blades around you that seek out enemies within 6 yards, exploding on them, dealing 45% damage and 510 to all enemies. Again, 20-second cooldown. Basically, this gives you a ring of orbs that surround you and go hit enemies. It's an okay gem. It's an okay gem at best. I'm going to go ahead and give this one, we're going to go give it it's going to probably be a D tier. I really don't think it's one of the best in the game right now. Gloom cask. Your primary attack unleashes an aspect of Gloom for 6 seconds, during which your primary attacks will trigger Gloom blades that deal 30% base damage plus 275. This is from your primary attack. So when you're utilizing your primary, and less skills, more primary, I actually quite like this gem. I wouldn't go ahead and call it an S tier, but I would go ahead and call it an A or a B. I could we'll go ahead and give it an A tier. Some people will argue that it should be a B, but I think it is still better than a seeping bile, so I'm going to go ahead and drop it in the A tier category. Starfire shard. When you deal damage, you have a 30% chance to rain meteorites in an area that knock back enemies, dealing 200% base damage, plus 2,000 in total. Now, this is great because of the knockback if you're a PvP player. Starfire Shard you will still see in PvP builds. It's still not one of the best, but I will also give it an A tier. Next up, we are going to take a look at Spiteful Blood. This is the gem that came out with the Blood Knight. Taking damage while below 50% life causes Spiteful Blood to surge through you for 4 seconds, increasing damage done by 4% and making you invulnerable to primary attacks from other players. From primary attacks, keep that in mind. And again, that's at rank 1. That would be ranked up. Spiteful Blood we used to think was going to be a beast of a gem, but as of right now, I still think it's just a B tier. And that's where I'm going to have it sit. Void Spark. This one is great if you're doing PvE related items. It probably does a little bit less for PvP, although now I'm playing as the wizard and I actually quite like the Void Spark gem in PvP as well. Dealing damage conjures a Void Spark for 6 seconds. While the Void Spark is active, dealing damage has a 30% chance to unleash lightning that chains up to 8 enemies, dealing 45% base damage plus 446 to each enemy. Lightning strikes can only trigger once every 1 second. So now you can only conjure the Void Spark once every 20 seconds. I quite like the Void Spark, honestly. I'm going to go ahead and give it an A tier, although I know that people will probably argue that it should be lower. I like Void Spark personally. That's where I'm putting it. Maw of the Deep is another one in that similar boat. Dealing damage conjures a whirlpool at an enemy's location that pulls nearby enemies into the center, and after 2 seconds, a massive sea monster jumps and erupts from the whirlpool, dealing 140% damage, plus 1,700 to all enemies that are nearby, and knocking them up in the air. Now, this is one that you need to rank up. You got to get this one to a rank 4 or 5 before it's actually going to be really valuable to you, but I do like Maw of the Deep. I actually even like it for open world related stuff as well. I think it's a good gem and I think that it has a lot of value. I'm going to go ahead and give Maw of the Deep an A tier as well, although again, I know people will argue it's a B. We're going to go ahead and give it an A tier. Roiling Consequence. Dealing damage sends you in a roiling rage for 6 seconds, during which your critical hit chance is increased by 12%, and critical hits cause a fiery explosion that burns nearby enemies for 30% base damage over 3 seconds. Explosions can occur more often than once every 1 second, and the roiling rage can happen once every 20. Burning, fiery explosions, crit chance, critical hit chance is increased by 12% at base. This, my friends, is an S tier gem right there beside our blood-soaked jade. If you unlock a Roiling Consequence, it's one that you are going to want to invest in and use. We have the Hilt of Many Realms. Dealing damage conjures 5 flying swords to follow you for 10 seconds, during which using a skill consumes a flying sword to create a sword rain at a random enemy location, dealing 50% base damage and 506. This can happen more than once every 20 seconds. Decent gem right here. One of the newer ones inside of the game. One that I do see being used at some points in time. It's not one that I particularly use. And I want to go ahead and give it an A tier. Although the use that I have for it and how often I use it inside of the game, I would go and give it a B tier. We could get into arguments in the comment section about that one and how that one lies. I'm going to actually go ahead and give it an A because I know that it's used a lot more than some that I've put here up on the A tier. Let's go take a look at Stormvault. Dealing damage conjures a storm at the enemy's location that pursues enemies for 6 seconds, continually dealing 22% damage, plus 203 every 0.5 seconds. All right, Stormvault, another decent one. I can't go and give every single one of them an A tier. I'm going to give Stormvault a B tier right there, and I'm gonna settle with that, and I'm gonna be okay with that. Now I just jumped out of my market. Let's get ourselves back to where we were. We are getting very close towards the end. The Wolf Heart gem. Dealing damage grants you Savage Heart for 6 seconds, causing your attacks to mark enemies. At 5 stacks, the marks are consumed and slash the heart of the enemy, dealing 40% base damage. Marks can be applied and stacked again on the same enemy 0.3 seconds after they are consumed. Another one that's a decent gem, but not my favorite. I'm going to go ahead and give this one as well a B tier. Now, please keep in mind, the grades, the scores that I'm giving, these are my personal opinion, and not all people will agree. Some people will disagree. That's okay. You could let me know your scores down below if you want people to know your feelings on them as well. Let's go take a look at the Golden Firmament. Dealing damage grants you Ascendance for 6 seconds, causing you to unleash 3 blasts of wind at random nearby enemies every second, dealing 45% base damage plus 486 to enemies they hit. Enemies struck by multiple blasts take 75% reduced damage from subsequent hits. All right, Golden Firmament, not my favorite gem, one that I haven't spent a lot of time using. Gonna go ahead and give that one. I'm gonna go ahead and give that one a C tier. I don't like that one. Then we have the Colossus engine. Granting yourself a buff also grants you Colossal Strength for 6 seconds, increasing your skill damage by 15%, while also increasing your size and skill range. I like the size increase. Every 20 seconds, this is one of the newer and the stronger gems in the game. Another S tier gem, along with Roiling Consequence and Blood-Soaked Jade. If you get the Colossus, you're going to want to prioritize that gem and upgrade it. And then we have the newest gem inside of the game, which currently, as of right now of recording, there's an event to even have better odds of dropping this gem. It's the Blood Flow. Your critical hits cause you to enter a blood rage for 6 seconds, increasing your damage done by 9% and your critical hit damage by 18%. While blood rage is active, your critical hits also rend flesh, causing enemies to bleed for an additional 10% base damage every second for 3 seconds. This blood rage can't trigger more often than every 20 seconds, and rend flesh can't trigger on the same enemy more often than once every 1 second. This is another incredible gem. Everyone will say it is an S tier gem, another one that you should prioritize if you are looking to have some of the strongest. Now keep in mind, the 4 that you see up top for S tier are also very often used in PvP, but when you're looking to drop large amounts of damage on Heliquary bosses or things of that nature, they are also very strong there as well. I would love for you guys to let me know your thoughts on my suggestions for scores right here of all these gems. Remember, I do go live every day around 11 a.m. or 12 p.m., basically midday, and I would love it if you guys subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on everything relating to Diablo Immortal. I appreciate you guys and have a great day.